Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Olsem Wanem. Papua New Guinea is prone to numerous natural hazards including earthquakes, landslides, the impact of climate change, amongst many others. In addition, there is a high risk of technological and human-caused disasters from unregulated and destructive land use practices, as well as infrastructural development and rapid growth in population. Let's take a look at general types of natural disasters.
Permanent Bailey bridges linking districts have been washed away.
Cane and wire bridges at different locations where the same Yellow River flows.
Flood-prone river basins and cyclone-exposed coastlines has more than doubled. According to the World Bank's Natural Disaster Hotspot study, PNG is in the top 60 list of countries most exposed to multiple hazards.
Landslips have also cut off many key feeder roads.
What is an earthquake? Earthquake is a shaking of the ground caused by sudden breaking and movement of large sections of the Earth's outermost crust. Most earthquakes occur along the fault line when the plates slide past each other or collide against each other. Secondary effects from earthquakes can be a tsunami, soil liquefations, landslides, aftershocks, and flooding from dams and rivers. Sometimes there is outbreak of fire. The provinces in PNG prone to earthquakes are East and West New Britain, Morobe, Medang, East and West Sepik, Southern Highlands, Oro and Milne Bay, to name a few. What is a volcano and volcanic eruptions? A volcano is a mountain formed by erupted lava, rock, fragments and ash. Volcanic eruptions occur when magma, molten rock, from inside the earth rises to the surface. Here is a map of volcanoes around Papua New Guinea. There are three different types of volcano: active, dormant and extinct. Active ones can erupt at any time and often. Dormant ones haven't erupted for a long time but can unexpectedly. And extinct are ones that have not erupted in a very long time and will probably never erupt again. What is a flood? Flooding results from heavy and prolonged rainfall. When the water level in rivers and streams rises over the banks of rivers and inundates the surrounding areas, damages can be inflicted on people's lives, homes, crops, infrastructure and communication systems. What is a tsunami? A tsunami is a large wave that is generated by sudden displacement of the seafloor or disruption of any body of standing water, such as in a lake or lagoon. There can be several waves arriving one after the other. Tsunamis can be generated by mechanisms other than earthquakes. Because tsunamis occur suddenly, often without warning, they are extremely dangerous to coastal communities. The provinces in PNG prone to tsunami are West and East Sepik, Medang, Morobe, Milne Bay, New Island, Autonomous Region of Bougainville, East and West New Britain.
Welcome back to Olsem Wanem. In the 5-year period from 1997 to 2002, 64 major disasters were reported in PNG that affected 3.74 million people, killed 3,356 others, and resulted in almost 80 million kina worth of damage and losses. We take a look at past events to remind ourselves what we must do for our future and unpredicted events.
According to the PNG National Disaster Centre, in between the years of 1997 and 2002, the top 5 disasters which saw most people affected were drought and frost, floods, earthquakes, cyclones and volcanic activities. The top 5 disasters which was most costly in terms of disaster response in PNG Kina were tsunamis, drought and frost, earthquakes, floods and cyclones. In 1994, the capital of East New Britain was rendered non-functional due to a twin volcanic eruptions from Tavurvur and Vulcan volcanoes. As a result, they moved the capital to Kokopo, including the airstrip and the resettlement scheme for the affected population. Between June 1997 and February 1998, El Nino-influenced drought affected over 3.2 million, 70% of the total population surveyed from the nation's total population of 4.5 million in that year. Most Papua New Guineans were hugely affected in the areas of food, water, education, economy, health and nutrition, agriculture and cultural practices. The National Disaster Centre's estimate can put the total amount between 81 to 85 million kina was used directly and indirectly for drought and frost relief and efforts by all concerned stakeholders. In 1998, 3 10 to 15 meter high tsunami waves devastated coastal villages in the Aitape-Sisano coastal area. In 2007, the island was hit by Cyclone Guba, and in 2009, a landslide on a major highway hit hard on trade and transportation. Around 40% of Papua New Guinea's population live in poverty, that is, on less than $1 a day, increasing their vulnerability to natural disasters.
Welcome back. You're with Olsem Wanem on this edition of Natural Disasters. We go to the International Organization of Migration and see what projects they are undertaking in PNG in response to natural disasters and risk reduction, and later, the Department of Education.
The program that I run here is a program that is funded by the USAID government through the People of America. So it's a USAID funded program where we are trying to build community resilience through disaster risk reduction program that we are doing. And the main focus of that program is about 3 components. Number 1, it's about the capacity building of the local authorities and also at the national level with the NDC. And number 2 priority, it's about building resilience among communities that are affected by disasters. And also the number 3 aspect is try to look into the aspect of coordination of humanitarian response in a case of a disaster. So we realize that when we emphasize our component under those 3 components, we'll find that we're able to make community be prepared and do interventions that are climate smart. And our approach in this doing this approach is community-based kind of programming, where we work with local communities and try to work with those communities and try to develop their own plans to try to come up with the local-based solutions for local solutions.
We have 4 terms a year where our teachers and our schools have an academic year, academic calendar if you like. And we go through the academic year, we're not realizing that outside the schools or around the schools there is likely problems that can happen with regards to climate change that affects rain, that affects strong wind, that affects the community having to, in terms of flood, they move from place to place. So those affect us and our people and our children in particular, and teachers go through the academic year not realizing that this is important. And therefore this assistance from the UNICEF has made it possible for our people to work with our team that is organized in the National Department of Education to create an awareness for our people about the effect of the climate change and the issue on managing disaster when it happens within our school system. So what does it mean for Papua New Guinea? For the Department of Education, we're fully behind awareness management system to make sure that our people are aware about the likelihood of a national disaster that can happen at any time, and it can be affected by weather or climate change, if you like. And on that basis, where this program is being rolled out to the provinces, all the resources that are provided to managing disaster has been given to the department with the money. Thank you very much to UNICEF, and our department enabled to make sure these things are now rolled out to schools. So schools do read and know the way they could manage disaster when it occurs as a result of climate change and also other forms of national disasters happen either by wind or by rain or by earthquake when that happens. And even in places where the fire can occur. If there's no medical attention, what do you do? So from first aid to other things are very important. So all government departments, in particular for the education department and our provinces where schools exist and our teachers are there and the school community, we need to educate them to know that disasters are very real. They come at any time, unexpected, and they have to know how to manage it. And this program that UNICEF has come with the department as a partnership, we are very thankful, and we would like to make sure that one day all school communities around the country are very familiar with this managing of disaster and can know what to do with it.
In the disaster area, like currently, we are doing a lot of capacity building for the teachers, for the communities. We are also helping the schools to do contingency planning. Schools have to come up with school plans and involve parents, Red Cross, hospitals. So these are some of the things that we are trying to facilitate to implement the policy. We are also receiving a lot of help from UNICEF and National Disaster Center. With UNICEF, we have just recently received stockpile materials for 13 provinces. We have dispatched most of the materials to the provinces. The provinces will take stock of these materials, and in the event of a disaster, communities and schools are able to quickly be resourced with these materials. And they are like learning materials, utensils, blankets, so that the school, after 72 or 30 hours of the disaster, the school or learning should continue at the site. We also have conducted first aid training to more than 2,000 plus teachers. Really, I think what we want to do is that the teachers are able to contain the impact of disaster at the school level. So that's, we can try and reduce the number of victims. We also have some communication strategies developed for the schools to use, meaning that they must connect up with the service providers around the school setting, so that when there is an emergency, they're able to know exactly what numbers to call, who to get help from, and the services available, like especially vehicles and canoes and boats. The department is also embarking on a lot of awareness programs, but this is based at the school level. We are setting posters, we are helping the teachers to communicate at the community level, training them to make school plans and disaster school plans, and ensure the parents know exactly when or what to do with when there is a disaster. In the short term, I think, the disaster has no boundaries, so we are hoping that because of our policy, we will do a disaster drill here in the department. We have a plan, and we will invite our key partners to come and help us train the officers here so they can be able to be prepared when there is a fire in this building, or when there is an evacuation because of earthquake or something. So that plan is in process. Soon we will conduct the training. With the planning, we have assisted 9 provinces with their disaster plans. And soon we will be going down to train them to understand the plan and make sure that they get some resources through the education emergency cluster groupings. There is 13 more to go. Hopefully that in the remaining of this year and next year, we will be able to go to these remaining 13 provinces and assist them to complete their disaster plans. But all in all, I think the communities and the schools are silent about disaster, but through our awareness, we would like to leave their understanding about disaster so that they are ready and prepared.
And I'd like to take this time to thank a couple of people who have been very helpful, especially the National Disaster Office, Martin Mose and his team. They've helped us in with the funding to get the disaster emergency policy being developed, and also UNICEF, they have been very supportive. On contingency planning, we were actually doing capacity assessments. Teachers were assessing what's in the school and what they need to do. And also they were also thinking of temporary learning space. If there is a disaster, schools will turn into the disaster centers, and where will the children be during disaster? Where are we going to accommodate them? And also teacher deployment. During disasters, some teachers might be killed, and we need to bring teachers in from other schools to support those areas. So the teacher deployment is also in our planning, and also special allowances will be given to those teachers when they come and teach. And we are also planning for evacuation, our evacuation plans. Where will the schools be relocated, or where will the children be moved? So those sort of things. And also our standards of building is a concern. Many of our buildings are not designed in a way they can withstand the disasters that come in, like earthquake. If earthquakes come, most of the buildings will fall off. And even our classroom settings, if you visit many schools, most of the schools, their desks are death trap for the children. They will find it difficult to even do this disaster drill where we tell them duck, cover and hold, or drop, cover and hold. They are unable to do that because the desks are not good, or not in a way that they can even protect themselves. And also in the classrooms, we have heavy objects on the top, hanging or sitting, shelves where they put heavy boxes on top. We want to encourage teachers to remove those and put them down at the lower. You can put the light objects up there, because those materials will eventually fall and kill a student or a teacher. So that's why we emphasize strongly that teachers are the key people in the classroom. They must make sure the classroom is safe. Teachers are the first people that parents will always want to come and find out where their children are. Because there are incidences that happen in Leh when disaster warnings or tsunami warning was given. Most of the students ended up in Goroka, Hagen, and there are people looking for their children, parents searching for their children. Or there are incidents where teachers abandon their classroom, leave the children in the classroom, and they run to save the children in another classroom or at home, which they are not supposed to do that. They're supposed to take care of the children or students in the classroom. That's on contingency planning. We want to make sure teachers must know what to do. And also on first aid training, we delivered first aid training to teachers in 5 provinces, selected schools. That's in Medain, in Kimbe for East and West New Britain, in NCD for Central and NCD. So from the training, we trained about 100 plus teachers. And not only teachers, we also brought in fire, we also brought in Red Cross, and we had staff from the hospital who also attended. We also, during the training, we were able to train the students, I think 4,200 students on this basic disaster drill, which is duck, cover, hold, and evacuation. So that training was being given. First aid training particularly is very important for teachers to know that, because they will deal with what we call accidents in the school. If a student is hurt, if there are cuts, they have broken bones, how would the teachers treat those children at the school? Because normally what happens in the country, lack of knowledge on how to deal with these issues in the school. We always rush all the patients to the hospital, where hospitals are always filled with patients. That shouldn't happen. Some of these minor injuries could be treated or could be taken care of at the school. So that is why we deliver first aid. And teachers can also take care of their own families. If there's a disaster, even the teachers themselves do. So the whole idea is to make our schools safe or disaster resilience. That's the important thing. So my message to teachers in the classroom, please, your responsibility is the child in the school. That is your core responsibility. If there's a disaster, you are the captain of that ship. You have to make sure everyone in that classroom is safe. Thank you.
You're with Olsem Wanem. In August this year, the National Disaster Centre launched for a first time a public awareness campaign on hazards and disasters in PNG. Vice Minister for Intergovernment Relations, Joe Sungi, was on hand to officiate the launching of a national disaster risk management plan for Papua New Guinea. He commended the current government for funding the national disaster with 50 million kina, making this the first government funding the centre has ever received.
The launching took place at the Public Administration Hall in Port Moresby, where several key stakeholders, including the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, World Bank, the International Organization for Migration, AusAid, National Maritime Authority, and the Department for Provincial Affairs were in attendance. Also present to witness and engage in awareness exercises were students from various primary and secondary schools in Port Moresby. Fitting to the launching was entertainment from the Siravoy Choir Group from the autonomous region of Bougainville, who are living examples of lives marked by climate change and human conflict. UN Resident Coordinator David McLaughlin-Carr stated that management of disasters is a serious issue and awareness is key for educating young people, particularly in assisting communities to cope with natural disasters. He shared a crucial message from the United Nations World Meteorological Organization.
The predictions are not great. From the United Nations World Meteorological Organization, the predictions are that the world will suffer more dramatic climatic patterns in the next 100 years than ever in recorded history. So there will be more unusual weather patterns of cycles of drought, of rainfall, of flood, causing landslides, causing all sorts of problems. So we need to be prepared.
Representing the government, Vice Minister for Intergovernment Relations, Joseph Sungi, officiated the launch by reflecting on the 50 million kina fund dedicated to the National Disaster Centre.
And to prove that this government actually for a very first time funded the National Disaster Program and the office with 50 million kina, ever in the history of this country. That funding basically is mainly for response. When the flood comes, or when the earthquake comes, when the tsunami comes, you will cry aloud as much as you can, but no one will listen to you, because the government is not there. It's always the NGOs that respond, the churches.
We take advice from the National Disaster Centre about what to do in these type of natural disasters. Earthquakes. Choose a safe place, either under a sturdy table, in the doorway, or against an inside wall where nothing can fall on you. Don't panic. When shaking begins, drop, cover, and hold on. Volcanic eruptions. Learn about your community warning systems and emergency plan. Be prepared for the hazards that can accompany volcanoes, such as mud flows, flash floods, landslides, and rock falls, earthquakes, ashfall, and acid rain or tsunami. Make sure you have emergency supplies on hand, such as torches or extra batteries, first aid kit and manual, emergency food and water, can opener, essential medicine, dust mask, face towel or clean cloth. If you have a baby, collect all necessary items for the baby. Make sure you follow the evacuation order issues by authorities. Floods. Keep alert for sign of heavy rain, thunder and lightning, both where you are and upstream. Watch for rising water levels. Voluntarily relocate to higher ground. Know where higher ground is and get there quickly if you see or hear rapid rising water. Identify local risks in your area. Fix faults and remove leaves, debris and items that can cause localized flooding. Store poisons and chemicals on higher shelves to reduce contamination of flood water. Tsunamis. Build homes and buildings of essential services such as hospitals, schools, shops and markets safely on hills or at least 300 to 500 meters inland, safely away from shore. Make escape plans or routes and practice them. Plant trees on shorelines. They will act as sea breakers. Personal responsibility for disaster preparedness is very important, especially as the National Disaster Center have stated in the Multi-Hazard Response Plan. The disaster risk reduction and disaster management planning and implementation have been impeded by resource constraints. A serious lack of capacity in the 20 provinces and the respective communities, and lack of the trained team of skilled disaster managers. The country's vulnerability is made worse by incomplete hazard information, shortage of models of good practice, lack of strong legislative framework, and shortcomings of early warning arrangements and communication systems. If you'd like more information on how to be prepared, you can contact the National Disaster Center or your provincial disaster coordinators.
My special message to the people of Papua New Guinea is for them to understand that nature does not know that they exist. And if they don't live properly with nature, nature is going to teach them the lessons that they will never want to be taught. So it's up to them, while in nature have not done anything to them, they have to make sure that they are prepared and they do the rightful thing and they change their behavior or other things that enhance or that increase their susceptibility to different risks. And what I also understand from my experience in disaster management, also the message that I want to leave them, is only when the last tree is cut and the last river dries, and also when all the fish is caught and all the environment is ruined, that people will realize that they don't eat money. So you realize that while we are trying to do development to increase our income, people also look at the issues that affect them and they increase their risk to themselves, so that at least they live a climate smart approach of life in their communities, and then they build also resilience also.
So those are some of the issues that for public and for our schools out there in Papua New Guinea, we welcome everyone to be interested in the managing of disaster. It happens at any time. It could be all forms of disaster, and that we know what to do.
And that's all we have time for in this edition of Natural Disasters. We will be presenting part 2 in a future edition. We thank the International Organization for Migration and the Department of Education for their participation. For more information, please contact us on our email address or our Facebook page, where we can refer you to your provincial disaster coordinators. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your viewing on your #1 station, MTV.